Hey there everyone, it's Jenna. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to show you our backyard makeover, and I really wanted this space to feel like its own little outdoor oasis, but I didn't want to break the bank, so I'm going to show you all how we did this on a budget, and I will reveal the final cost of everything at the end of the video. And when we started out to do this, I wanted to make sure that we implemented two things. One was an outdoor dining area, and the second was a little garden space, somewhere where I could plant things like roses and herbs and just have that secret garden feel. So we ultimately decided to go with a pea gravel patio because it's super easy to install and it's very affordable. It's also just a really pretty look. I love the organic look of the stones and the texture it adds and how it just helps to break up grass in a landscape. And it also gives off that rustic European feel, which I love so much. So I'm very excited to show you all how we did this from start to finish. So without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so this was the space we were working with, and last year we added the arbor and all of the landscaping along the back fence. I also just put in these cottage style planter beds, and you can watch that process on my Garden With Me video, but I wanted to transform this grass area into a more useful space, and this was the rough idea that I had when starting out. I wanted a pea gravel patio framed by some planter beds to soften it, so once I had the idea and vision, it was time to get to work. So the very first thing we did was lay everything out so we could get a visual of how big we wanted this area to be, and used some grass paint to mark it out. And this was extremely helpful when visualizing the space and creating an easy to follow guide for removing the grass. So here in North Carolina, we have very heavy clay soil that is basically like solid rock when it's dry. So we've found that wetting the grass first makes it a lot easier to take up. And we just used this small grass remover tool that we found at Lowe's, and it's nice because the depth of it gets rid of most of the roots and it takes out even chunks, so it makes the surface relatively level. Now for this project we didn't rent any tools, we did everything by hand, which obviously saved us money, but it did take a lot of time. And I'm not gonna lie, removing this grass was a huge task even with two people. I thought we could do it in less than a day, and it ended up taking us an entire weekend. All right, officially on the last little section of grass. Only one more wheelbarrow left. This literally took 2 full days of work. And I don't know if you can see it, but it is very uneven. So we're gonna have to figure out how to even out this rock hard clay. So right after we took up all of the grass, we had a huge long storm with a ton of rain, and it actually made the clay super soft, kind of similar to a stucco consistency. So we just marked out where we wanted the planter beds because we didn't want to waste time smoothing those out since they were just going to be dirt anyways, but we actually used a trowel to smooth out the clay since it was so soft. And I honestly think that this was overkill, and we would have been fine with some divots and unevenness since the stone would have naturally filled in those spots anyway. But we were putting a dining table on this area, and I wanted it as flat of a foundation as possible, and it was just nice to take advantage of the clay being so soft, and it was very satisfying to see it all smoothed out. So next it was time to create a border for the planter beds and to hold all of the pea gravel in place so it won't be kicked around everywhere. And I wanted it to look very natural. So we decided on stones to give the space a more organic feel. And it's little details like this that I think make a big difference in the end. And since these stones are naturally occurring in nature, it just makes the whole look more earthy, which I love. So we went to our local landscape supply store and picked out the stones by hand. And the total cost of the stones was only $135, which I thought was very comparable to just going to the Home Depot and getting pavers, but it just gives off a little bit more of a unique look and adds a layer of that earthy, stony texture. So next it was time to lay down the stones, and to prevent the grass from growing around them and into the planter beds, I just used a strip of landscape fabric that I secured with some landscape pins, and then I started laying stones all along the border. And I did build up a little section of wet clay along the edge just to elevate the border a bit and to have something to help support the stones. And I was so happy with my choice to go with the natural stones. I just think it really helps to give off that secret garden feel. So after the outside was done, I wanted to line the insides as well for the planter beds, and I placed all of the plants roughly where I wanted them just so I could repaint the borderline since the crazy storm we had washed them all away. And then I just repeated that same process with the small clay mound, laying the landscape fabric and then setting the stones. So once those were all set in stone, get it? Sorry, I had to, but it was time to lay the landscape fabric over the area where we will be adding all of the pea gravel. And I had done some research, and people who had gone through with similar projects before all say to get the heavy duty premium weed fabric. This isn't the time to skimp and buy the cheap stuff. You definitely want to make sure that you get one that will last and won't be growing weeds a summer from now. So next it was time to add the pea gravel, and you can totally just add pea gravel after this step, but because we were putting in a dining table, I wanted the surface to be very hard and sturdy and not have all of the pea gravel constantly shifting underneath the table and chairs. So we decided to do a layer of this ABC, or crush and run, and this is a gravel that has a mix of angular stones along with some more finely crushed gravel to help add strength once it's all compacted down, and it's actually used quite frequently in driveways and roads, so we decided to put a layer of this down first to give a more solid foundation. And to give you all a bit of reference, the pea gravel area, not including the planter beds, was roughly 18 feet by 18 feet, and we ordered 3 tons of ABC, and the total cost of the stones, including delivery, was $192. So we just spread it out until it was about 2 inches in depth, and I will say that the only downside to using this is that every once in a while, one of the angular stones will pop up through the pea gravel, so it kind of makes walking barefoot in the pea gravel an iffy situation, but we always have our shoes on anyway, and I wanted a sturdy table to be the priority, so I think this works really well for that. So the next step was to wet the gravel and tamp it down, and we just worked in little sections, taking turns with our hand tamper, and they do have larger electric plate compactors that you can rent for this part, but since we weren't doing a large area, the hand tamper worked fine, even though it did get a bit tiring after a while. But once it had all dried and compacted the next day, you can tell that this was super solid, and this was the stable foundation that I was hoping for. So next it was time to add the layer of pea gravel, and we ended up just purchasing some bags from the Home Depot, and we spread it about 1.5 inches in thickness, and then we used about 50 bags total. And opening and spreading these bags was supposed to be the easy part, but shortly after we started, we noticed that the bags that we purchased were 2 different colors, and they were the same exact brand and SKU number, but we later found out that they were just mined at different sites, and there was quite a noticeable color difference. So we had to go back to the store and return all of the yellow colored ones, and then we bought the rest of the ones that matched. So, of course, we are about 3 or 4 bags shy of finishing. So we have to go do one more trip to the Home Depot. I definitely would recommend, if you can find a local place that would just deliver these, that would probably be the way to go. But we were just thinking we didn't really need a whole lot. And our local spot was actually out of the smallest size in this kind of like brown taupey color. So we just did the Home Depot ones, but yeah, back to Home Depot we go. So after driving to several different Home Depots all over town to locate this specific stone color, we bought the last 4 bags that we needed to finish out this part of the project. And the total cost of the pea gravel was just under $250. And it definitely would have been cheaper if we bought it in bulk, but our local landscape supplier didn't have it in stock, like I said. But I absolutely love how this came out, and it is now time to add in all of the pretty plants to the planter bed. So starting out, I knew I wanted to create a little rose garden, and when I came across these white iceberg roses for only $20 each, I was sold. I have heard of these referred to as parking lot roses because they are one of the easiest to take care of, and they are very disease resistant and just a great starter rose. And I also love the white color of the flowers and how that will pop against the rest of the greenery that we have going on in the back. So another thing that I wanted to get for my garden were these little lime hydrangeas, and these are a smaller version of the limelight primes, which actually can grow to be very large, but these can still reach 6 feet in height. And I love how these look all planted together as a hedge when they are grown in and blooming. So I thought it would be so pretty to get 3 of them and plant them as a small hedge in the back of the patio to act as a soft floral backdrop. So now that everything was all picked out and laid out, it was time to get planting. And for all of my flowering shrubs, I plant them the same exact way to make sure that they are set up for blooming success. So I first started by digging the hole, and I made sure to run the hose over this area to make it easier to dig in our hard clay. And I also used the dirt that I dug up to help support the stones and raise the elevation of the planter beds a little bit so they weren't lower than the grass and would drain properly. Then to fill the hole, I just used some garden soil and mixed that in with some compost. And adding compost just helps to add lots of nutrients to the soil, and it also corrects your soil density. So whether it's on the denser side or the looser side, it will help to correct that. And it will also support healthy root growth. So I just gently removed my rose from the container and positioned it with the best side facing out. Then I just took this bone meal, and this is going to promote strong root growth also by providing nitrogen, phosphorus, and calcium to the soil. So I just sprinkled this in and around the root system, and then I added more compost and topsoil on top of that. And then I also wanted to add some fertilizer. So I used this Espoma rose tone, which is best for flowering plants. So I also use this on my hydrangeas as well. And I just spread that around the drip line of the plant and mixed that in. And that is how I plant my flowering shrubs. So while I love my flowers, I did want to add some evergreen interest to these planter beds. So at least in the wintertime, they had a touch of green to them. So I had these blue Cascade copper tone Distyliums that I had planted in our back planter bed, but honestly, they were just kind of crowding the space and they needed to be moved anyway. So it worked out. I had 4 of them and we just moved them in between the rose bushes. And I love these because they totally remind me of little olive trees. So I think it kind of helps to add that rustic charm to the garden. So since these are pretty hardy plants, we didn't do anything special. We just planted them with topsoil since that's what we did when we planted them last year and they thrived. So once that was all in, I just added a layer of black mulch for contrast and moisture control, and I also made sure to give everything a nice long drink because when transplanting plants, it's super important to make sure that they're hydrated. So I'm not going to lie, my original vision was to have some old English style roses to add a pop of soft pink to my garden, but I searched for weeks and I couldn't find any until, of course, the day after I planted everything, I came across these stunning Scentuous Roses at Home Depot. These have a gorgeous peony-like cupped flower, and like their name suggests, they have a super strong and beautiful fragrance. So I couldn't resist and I bought 2 of them to layer in some of that soft color, and I just swapped out my middle Iceberg rose on each side and planted those in other spots in my yard, and I am so glad that I made this last minute change. I am obsessed with these roses, and all you have to do is walk by them and you are instantly hit with their strong scent. I also think that these have that secret garden look to them, and they will also be really pretty to use as cut flowers inside as well. I absolutely love how this garden came out. It was exactly what I was hoping for. I love the way that everything catches the light at golden hour and the crisp pop of white that the Iceberg roses give, and I absolutely cannot wait until my little lime hydrangeas bloom and mature, giving me that stunning floral backdrop. All right, so now it's time for the fun part of the project. We are going to add in all of the finishing details and the furniture. So something that I wanted to take inspiration from for this part of the project was this cute little boutique hotel that we stayed at in Stinson Beach, California when we were there for a friend's wedding. And they had this adorable courtyard with a beautiful garden and some dining tables. And I just loved the simple casual look of it. So I kind of wanted to take inspiration from the woven back chairs and the striped umbrellas and just the simple look of the wooden table and use that in my space as well. So I am so excited to show you all how it came together. So something that I do to save money is I always keep an eye out at grocery stores when they have their spring garden specials, and I found this super heavy stone umbrella base at Lidl, and I love that it was made of stone, so it helped to add that earthy look and feel that I was going for. Next, it was time to find a table, and again, I found a super cheap one at the grocery store. This 42-inch outdoor table was only $100 at Aldi, which is an amazing deal because a similar table at Target is even 3 times the price. So I brought it home and carefully centered it around the umbrella base, and I was actually super impressed with this table. It had a very similar look to my inspiration table, and I loved the faux distress finish that it had, and it kind of gave it that casual rustic feel that I was going for. So next it was time to find some chairs, and we have curved back dining chairs for our indoor dining area, and not only do the curved edges help to add dimension, but they are also so comfortable. So I really wanted to try to find some that looked like the chairs from Stinson Beach, on a budget of course. So I found these at Home. They were only $60 each, and I thought that was an amazing deal because they look very similar to the Sausalito chair from Serena and Lily, which is almost $900 per chair. So I picked up 4 of them and brought them home. And I am seriously obsessed with how these look. I feel like out of everything in a dining area, chairs are typically what make the biggest statement and impact. And I love the curved shape of them and the woven detail that helps to add a natural texture and warmth, keeping with that casual earthy vibe. And because I want guests and us to be able to sit out here for long periods of time to play games and hang out, I decided to get some tan cushions just for some extra padding, and I got these at HomeGoods for $10 each. So next it was time to find my striped umbrella. So while I was at Home, I spotted this black and white one for $60, and this umbrella was 9 feet and had a tilt option, which was really important since this is going to be our only source of shade out here. And I kept the bottom half of the dining area pretty neutral in color intentionally so that I could make a statement with the striped pattern umbrella and it wouldn't feel too busy, just really simple and classic. Now, I left extra space around the edges of the patio so I could utilize this for having a potted herb garden. And when I was at, surprise, Aldi, I spotted this outdoor woven bar cart for only $45. And I thought that was amazing because so many designer sites sell super similar ones for hundreds of dollars. So I thought this would be a perfect decor piece to add to the outdoor space to not only make it feel cozy and aesthetic, but it would also hold some of my smaller herbs. And I also thought it would be nice to hang some of my gardening tools off of the handles with S-hooks. So that way, when I'm out in the garden taking care of everything, all of my tools are close by. I can also remove the herbs when entertaining and then use this to serve food and drinks. And I also have plenty of space around the bar cart to expand the herb garden and add some larger terracotta pots for a layered look. And that is it. That is how we took this empty patch of grass and turned it into a mini outdoor oasis where we can relax, play games, and enjoy our own little secret garden. I love the natural look of everything with all of the stones we incorporated, and I like that the entire dining area is surrounded by roses, so when you're out there and a gentle breeze blows, you get whiffs of soft floral fragrances. And as promised, the total cost of everything, including furniture, landscaping, soil, stone, all that, was $1,481. I think this space looks a lot more expensive than that, and I am so excited to enjoy the space for seasons to come. All right, everyone, that about wraps up this video. I hope that you enjoyed seeing this backyard makeover. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up. It really does help to support the channel so I can continue making makeover videos like this. And be sure you're subscribed if you like home decor and makeover content, because I have a ton of that on my channel and I post new videos every single week. So I just want to thank you all so much for watching this video. I hope you have a fabulous week, and I will see you all in my next one. Bye!